I like being number 8.
Heck yeah, it's a good number. So, all right.
Turn it sideways.
It's an infinity, man.
That's right.
So, love it. Cool. Awesome. Well, everybody, welcome to Talk of the Trades. This is episode 8 that we're on. Today, we're joined by Brigham Dickinson. He's the founder of Power Selling Pros. He's a Spartan race winner. I know you finished 4th a couple times, but Brigham, did you ever get number 1 on that podium?
Yeah, I took first last year. In fact, I did it in Texas. I did it. It's Granbury, just a suburb of Dallas.
Very cool.
So I did it in Granbury in November, and dude, there's a crazy story behind that. I don't know if you want me to go on this.
Yeah, let's hear it, man. I want to know. I don't think I could ever finish a Spartan race. I've seen those things, and we have a thing here called Alpha Warrior, where it's like an obstacle course, and I about died. So I couldn't imagine a Spartan race, man.
You'd be surprised what you could do with a little bit of training. But
yeah,
we could talk about why I do it later. But so that day, well, actually, I was at Service World Expo a few days before, and I can't remember where Service World Expo was, but I flew into Houston. Now, why would I fly into Houston to do a race in Dallas? Well, the reason why is because I wanted to go to the temple.
Okay.
And the temple in Dallas was closed. So I flew into Houston, went to the temple there, and then jumped in my car and then drove across Texas. And that later on that day, I got cussed out by my sister-in-law. I won't say why, but man, she ripped me a new one, man. She really let me have it. And then after that, it's funny because at this Airbnb that I was at, all the rooms upstairs, essentially you were assigned a room, but none of the rooms were locked. And so I went upstairs and I just assumed that the first door that was open happened to be mine because I didn't I'm not good with details. And so I go into this room and I go away to grab some dinner or whatever. I come back and there's literally a gal sitting there outside my front door. And she says, you do realize you're in my room. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And then I looked at my notes, and sure enough, she was right. I was in the wrong freaking room. Can you imagine?
Wow.
And so I go into my room and I go, hey, you can have my room. Because why? They look the same. She's like, no, I want my room. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll grab my luggage. All right. So that all happened. And then she was nice about it, but she still wanted a room, which I can understand. Right. Whatever.
Yeah.
And so that night there was some sort of party going down in Granbury. And so I didn't get to sleep until 11:30 at night, just this loud band just going, bah, bah, bah. And I'm like, man, this is a nightmare. And so wake up the next morning and the race starts at 6:30. Most of the time races started at 7 when when the sun comes up. Well, the problem is it's freaking dark outside. I'm going, dude, what? There's only one way into the race. And so I'm getting there. I've got a buddy from Waco that works at Neighborly. You guys know Neighborly in Waco, right?
Yeah.
And he was a stud. He kind of talked me through it because I'm like, dude, I'm going to be freaking late to this race. And so finally I was able to park last second. I go in, use the restroom, which is more of a porta potty, right?
Yeah.
And I come out of the porta potty and my heat had already gone.
Oh, wow.
And I'm seeing these lights because they all have headlamps. I'm the only one without a headlamp. I'm like, great. I don't have a headlamp. Luckily my buddy waited for me. And he said, hey, they've already taken off. And I'm like, crap. So I am gunning it through the starting line. And what I ended up doing is I bounced from headlamp to headlamp.
Uh-huh.
That was the only way I could see where the heck I'm running. It was the crazy rocks everywhere. This is a trail, you guys. You don't run trails in the dark.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm running through these trails for the first 4 miles. I'm just booking it, focusing on light. And all of a sudden the sun comes up and I'm just like, I feel like I was released from jail. I just started gunning it as soon as the sun came up. And I feel good. I feel great. In the back here, you're going, man, he didn't have a chance to stretch out. He didn't have a chance to prepare his mind. Well, I finished the race, and then I ended up sitting there for about an hour and a half waiting for my buddy to get done. I didn't realize I just ditched him.
Smoked him.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. So I'm waiting there. Finally, he gets done. And to be fair, I've got a whole lot more experience than he does. So it was like his second race.
Yeah.
So we look at, hey, let's go see our results. We're looking at results, and I have to look at mine twice. And I'm like, what the freak? And I showed it to him. I said, dude, did I just take first?
Nice.
He's like, dude, you just took first. And I'm like, crap, I've got a flight that leaves at like 2, and they don't give medals out until noon. So in the back of my head, I'm going, this is the first one I've ever taken first. So I got to stay. So I changed my flight around. I stayed, took pictures, put it on LinkedIn, and it was great. It was great.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
So here's the funny thing about it. And I know why you're asking, right? Hey, because why? Well, because I often talk about Crandall in 2019, who I was able to race with and basically helped him get across the finish line. If you want, I can tell that story in length, or maybe we could talk about it later. But the point is that I had this goal to get on the podium, and I didn't. I took 4th twice in 2019.
Yeah.
And then I say, hey, I wouldn't trade how I felt when I helped my friend get across the finish line for 1,000 podiums. Well, that's really nice to say if I've never been on the podium, right? So you really can't compare, Brigham, until you get yourself on the podium, right? I get it. I see what you're saying. I get what you're throwing down. And so, I have since done it, and it's true. I wouldn't trade that experience with Crandall in 2019 for any amount of podiums.
That's awesome.
It's interesting too.
Having
like
experienced both.
Yeah, my mind goes to, because I was in cross country in high school, back-to-back state champs. Have not run long distance since. I swore it off. But like that distraction or that level of focus that you had at the beginning of the race of, I'm not thinking about the full 10 miles or 12 miles, whatever it is for a Spartan. I'm thinking about headlamp to headlamp. I'm thinking about headlamp to headlamp. And so you have that short focus with the long-term goal, and it can help distract but also motivate. So I'm reaching to see if that was even a part of it, but
no, I think that's certainly a part of it. The other thing that sticks out too, Brigham, is just the adversity you faced in that morning, like trying to park, get to the restroom, your heat's already started, and like making it through, and kind of like segueing how that like parallels into how you got to where you are with Power Selling Pros today. Because I know based on our research, like back in 2008, you found yourself unemployed, failed business. It was tough. And then from that point on, you just pulled yourself up from your bootstraps, got a couple opportunities, and then things started snowballing, right? You hired your younger brother, you hired Barry, who I think are both still with you.
Oh, yeah, Barry.
And, now you have this incredible company with, Power Selling Pros, and we'll get into that more as well. But I think it's just a beautiful story to be able to share with people. And so, and on that point, one thing that I found really cool also is, you've been asked before, like, what do you do before you start training like CSRs? And one of the things you brought up was like, they got to read Green Eggs and Ham, right? Because that book, Sam, as you said, faced 70 objections, tried 15 closes. So I want to know, if you were coaching, Sam, what would you have done to kind of help him get the close, sooner?
So I would listen more.
Okay.
I would listen more. So what Sam would do is every time he got a no, he would go to, okay, well, what if you tried it with this? What if you tried it with that? Why don't we just pause for a moment and just say, okay, so you notice what he did in the end? He said, hey, you say you don't like Green Eggs and Ham. Why don't you try them? Try them, and you may, I say, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to do that sooner, hey, you say you don't like Green Eggs and Ham. What makes you feel like you don't like Green Eggs and Ham? What about Green Eggs and Ham is it that you don't like? Is it just the green? Or is it because they're slimy? What is it? What is it?
Yeah.
Now that I would show him that I want to understand where he's coming from. And then show them that I really, really care. and then reassure him that it's not as bad as he thinks it is. And if he were to just try it, he would know. So chances are he wouldn't have to go through 70 objections to get to his his success story, I guess you could call it. He probably could have done it at a whole lot shorter amount of time, but that would also make the book a whole lot shorter as well. So that's what I would do. In fact, I've got an example, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was at Woodfin's last week. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Woodfin. Jack Woodfin's the owner. He's one of those contractors that likely will never sell. And he's got a big old company, right? He's got 7 comfort advisors. He's got probably over 100 techs. And he's in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
Impressive company, by the way. Man, I was so impressed. There are a lot of companies out there that are very they're driven to build it and sell it, which is fine. I respect that, right? In the industry, that's kind of the hot thing right now. They're not building it to sell it. This is a very cause-driven business, right? They are motivated by the cause. They are motivated by the difference they're making in their community. The energy from the moment you walk in, you can feel it. It's palpable. Like by the end of the 2-day training, I wanted to be part of their team. Seriously, I wanted to pack up my family and move to Richmond and be a part of Woodfin. That's how amazing this cause-driven business was. But anyway, while I was there, I was working with a group of CSRs, and they had some training in the past with other organizations. And what's funny is that as I was working with them in the morning, there's probably a group of 6 out of, I would say there was 20 people in the room, and there was 6 that brought up a concern right out of the gate. And I had a choice. And as I go off on this tangent, remind me what my point is of talking about Woodfin in the first place. But I'm telling you, this is really cool what happened. Okay.
So real quick, Brigham. So they had concerns with you. They had concerns with you being there to coach, or they had separate concerns just regarding the business.
So I was teaching the pattern for excellence.
Okay.
And the first part that I was working on was showing the customer that you understand, showing them that you care, and reassuring them that they've called the right place.
Gotcha.
Okay. So the way that I apply that, and there's a lot of ways to apply those 3 principles: listening, caring, reassuring. All right. Let me give you one way to apply it. How do you listen? Tell me more about that, right? Where do I get that? Same as Sam I am. Just simply asking the question, tell me more. What's going on? What's happening? You want your show, because the customer, they have this emotionally, they want to feel understood. They want to feel cared about. They want to feel reassured. If you can do that in the first 30 seconds of the phone call, you can make all the difference in the world for that customer. Well, as I'm talking about caring, I get to caring, and I say, that's not good. They go, oh, we can't say any negative words. So I could have done 2 things there. Number one, I could have just let it go and let my coaches handle it later when the coaching starts after the training. Or I could put the training on hold and get to the bottom of this concern. Okay. So what they were essentially saying was, look, it's professional to only say positive words. It's not professional to talk negatively. Okay. And so, and part of the group of those 6 people was the general manager. The general manager was that I couldn't let that slide. You know what I mean? We had to get on the same page. So I essentially took about an hour to resolve this concern and walk them through it. And I simply said, guys, here's the thing. Our goal is to absolutely be professional, but there is something that's even more important than being professional. And they're like, what's more important than being professional? And I said, connecting with the customer on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take it outside of work for just a moment. All right. Let's say I were to tell you that my son, he's 18 years old. He has an old girlfriend that tells him that if he dates this girl, dates that girl, she's going to be very upset. Okay. So guess what he does? He goes, hey, you're not even my girlfriend anymore. So he takes a video of one of the 2 girls that she said you couldn't be with and took a picture of them kissing and then sent it to her.
Wow.
I thought that was brilliant. Right? Pretty funny. Well, she goes up to him, walks right up to him, and smacks him across the face. This isn't a little smack, you guys. Okay, he had a red mark on his cheek. Okay, he was assaulted. You know what I mean? So I'm sharing this with them, and the general manager at Woodfin, says, "Where does she live?" And I said, "Exactly. You see, you just met me where I am emotionally. Now, if you just avoided that and were like, oh, yeah, okay, well, I'm sure your son's is okay now, right? It, kind of silver lining it type of deal.
Yeah.
As opposed to meeting me there emotionally, where I'm at. Okay, so if I get on the phone and I say, hey, I've got water coming up from multiple pipes. Are you not going to meet me emotionally just because it would be unprofessional? Because those are negative words? No.
Yeah.
I've got water coming up from multiple pipes. Oh my gosh, that is not good.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's not.
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happens is we have a tendency to be emotionally apathetic. Okay. For the sake of professionalism, we are essentially showing them that we do not care, that we are not with them emotionally. And that does the opposite of what you're trying to do at the beginning of the phone call. What are you trying to do in the beginning of the phone call? Show them that you intimately understand, that you sincerely care about them and their situation. And you're going to reassure them that they've called the right place. If they believe you, the rest of the call is going to be easy. Okay, you not being able to come out today as opposed to tomorrow, a whole lot easier if they like you, if they feel understood, cared about, reassured. Okay. Regardless of how hot it is outside, it doesn't matter if they like you. Okay, let me give you one more example here. Let's say that you're my neighbor, right? And I'm borrowing a shovel. Okay, if you like me, chances are you're never going to ask for that shovel back. You'll get it sooner or later. Why? Because we're friends. If you don't like me and I borrow the shovel, crazy thing, you're at my door tonight saying, hey, where's my shovel?
Yeah.
Okay. We are friends. We become more amiable, more flexible, easier to deal with our friends. Your objective is not necessarily to be professional, but to be their friend. Connect with them on an emotional level. You do that by meeting them where they are emotionally. That's one of the many things I learned at Woodfin. Don't let me forget to tell you guys about something else that went so awesome on day 2 at Woodfin with their comfort advisors. They call them sales coordinators, but the industry name is more common. It's more common as a comfort advisor. So anyway, hold that thought over there. But like I said, I don't even know why I got off on this tangent.
It leads me to one of the questions I wanted to ask you and bring up, though, about EQ and emotional connection. And I know that your daughter recently got into the call center, and something that I had for years, because I ran a web development company all the way back in 2006 when I was in college, and we used to do keyboard typing tests before we'd hire people, because like from a skill standpoint, and it was thought of as ageist against maybe the older employees. Whereas now, wondering about what the right fit for the call center, and these youths out here not being able to connect emotionally, are you seeing any kind of like I'd hate to use the word reverse ageism, but I will, but like, is the younger workforce able to connect on that emotional level? Do you see any trends in that area?
Okay, so the younger they are, socially, they're socially awkward. You can blame cell phones, but they do need to be trained. The great thing about it is they can be trained. Now, I would say that the older generation has some of the same issues because they've been taught things that don't work today. Okay, such as professionalism and no negative words, and they have issues connecting with the customer. They say things like, unfortunately, we can't, or, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Okay, let's address those two real quick. When you say the word unfortunately, what are you saying?
Can't help me.
Yeah, exactly. I'm simply saying you're not fortunate. Okay, I'm saying you're not lucky. Don't go to Vegas anytime soon, right? With sorry's been used too much. Just go to Canada. Sorry, they say it all the time. Okay? It's lost its meaning. It's lost its value. And I don't believe you. The minute you say, oh, sorry about that. Hey, I've got water coming up from multiple pipes. Oh, sorry to hear that. Bull crap. I don't believe you. See, our goal is to connect. Whether they're old, whether they're young, for different reasons, they both need this. The good news is, you guys, is that it can be taught. It can be taught. And all we have to do is remind them about how they talk to their friends, what makes their friends friends. Because when they're in a pickle, they come to their rescue. They listen. They understand. They let you talk in the beginning, right? So that you can process it all. And they're there with you, right? You guys have seen the video online on YouTube. It's Not the Nail.
It's not the nail.
I don't think I've seen that one.
So, you know, this is the perfect story, by the way, because you've got in your background, you've got a bunch of hammers. Okay. Everybody listen to this podcast. After this, here's your homework assignment. I want you to go on YouTube and type in "It's Not the Nail." Okay. Essentially, it is a gal, and maybe you can play it in when you air the podcast. You can play the video just for kicks and giggles.
Yeah,
right. So basically, it's a gal that has a nail in her head. Okay, and her boyfriend is sitting there with her on the couch, and she's describing the pain in her head. And so he begins to say, what? He begins to provide a solution. Hey, if you take the nail out of your head, you won't feel pain anymore. And she simply says, it's not about the nail. It's not about the nail. And so he's like, oh, that seems really hard. And she's like, it is. Thank you. Okay. So what is that? That is a perfect demonstration of what empathy should be. Okay. He's not providing solutions. He's not being professional. He's meeting her emotionally on wherever she's at. Okay. So what's my point? My point here is that whether they're old or young, there's different reasons why they're not connecting with the customer. It's because they haven't been taught the EQ, the emotional intelligence that is needed to be able to connect with that customer on an emotional level. And this is why we're not booking calls. Guys at Woodfin, they were stuck at 70%. With all that training, they were stuck at 70%. Okay? We want to be at 90 without fail. Now, I can say that because I have my own call center. I guess we're at over 70 call takers now. And we have an average call conversion of 93%.
Wow.
Okay, we trained Tommy Mello's team. Last year, we got him up to 89%. Right now, he's at 92%. The only thing he doesn't like about that is that it's 1% lower than our own team. Now, why do we want our teams to be at 90%? Now, I can go off on that, but I know you guys have a lot of questions, so I don't want to completely take over here. You want me to keep going on this?
Yeah, I mean, this is key because this is something that we deal with. You know, we're a Service Titan partner. We get into House Call Pro. We do a lot of call grading with virtual assistants and with AI. So it's stuff that is really important because we're paying $40 a click, $50 a click sometimes for paycheck keywords. And if we're going to use our clients' money wisely, we need them to be in it with us to make sure they're booking properly too.
Yeah. The other thing, Brigham, is some of our clients can't fathom 90%. Like they're already telling themselves there's no way I will book 9 out of 10 calls, you know? So very interested to hear more on this.
Let's address that. The first thing we need to understand, as far as the digital marketing is concerned, when the phone rings, okay? When the phone rings, if the person on the other end can fog a mirror, it's a lead. Okay. You just need to accept it. If they can fog a mirror, it's a lead. Now, in the back here, you might be going, what if they're not in our service area? Okay, cool. Do they have a friend in our service area? What are the chances? How close are they to our service area? If they're not in their service area, fine. I will concede that perhaps that's not a lead. What if it's an advertiser? That could be another one. Oh, it's an advertiser. Okay. Does the advertiser work in our marketplace? If they do, you simply say, hey, do you live in our marketplace? Do you have a home here? Yeah, awesome. It's funny. My boss, she likes to work with those who work with her.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd like to do is get you on one of our service agreements. Awesome. We come out in spring, come out in fall, make sure your system's running at peak efficiency. The best part about it is it prevents premature breakdowns, which is something you should definitely consider if you want to get you on it right now. Now, the reason why this is important, Mr. Advertiser, is because chances are, if you're just another advertiser, the boss isn't going to want to talk to you. However, she will talk to an existing customer. So let me help you help me. Okay, let me get you on this. Guys, if nothing else, you'll get less advertisers calling you.
Yeah,
you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, this is back to that green eggs and ham book. Why? Because Sam is good at two things. He has the right attitude, and he owns his process. Okay, you need a team of CSRs that have the right attitude and they own their process. Now, what's the process? The process is the pattern for excellence. Okay, 8 principles, 1 outcome. You master this process, you're going to book more calls, you're going to wow more customers. So, number 2, once they have the right attitude, and now you hire people with the right attitude. You guys, if they have the right attitude, you can teach them anything.
Yeah.
If they don't have the right attitude, don't hire them. Okay, but remind me what my point was. What is it exactly? What was
so we were talking about how to get to 90%.
90%. Okay, so right attitude, right process, and then make sure you're recording their calls, and stop worrying about what is a lead or what's not a lead. Just accept the fact leads are coming in. Your mom calls in. Great. We love moms. We love that when they call in. It's wonderful. Just as long as they're ready to buy a service agreement. That's the mindset. Okay. So bottom line, they can fog a mirror. It's a lead. All right.
Yeah.
So that CSR's job is to book every call that comes in. Now the dispatcher at some point, if they're not trained, they're going to be saying to the CSRs, please stop booking calls. You know what happens when you tell a CSR to stop booking calls? You get less book calls. Don't do that. Okay. The dispatcher's job is to play a really good game of Tetris. Okay. Leads are coming in. Your job is to make them fit. It's a game. That's their job. Now, whether it's the technician, whether it's the customer and making everything work, that's the dispatcher's job. So either way, you got to have the right mindset, and you've got to own the process. Now, were you about to ask something?
No, I was just going to comment, your example of flipping a potential, advertiser into a service plan. Like that's like some black belt level, stuff, because I think people are like, oh, like, well, what I'm thinking is like CSRs think like I got to book a job, right? Or I got to get somebody out to their home. But, I think it's still a lead. If you can get them on a service agreement, then they're part of our database. Then we can remarket them with email and whatever, and if our CSRs are good and we're asking additional questions like, how old's your system right now? And that sort of stuff, then we can, segment them and maybe hit them with special messaging, if we know their water heater is 10 years old or whatever it might be. So I love that. And I'm sure that same principle could work for people looking for jobs. It's like, hey, you're more probably have a better chance of getting in the door if you're, in our database and have a relationship with our company. Because I think that's what maybe it's more about, right? It's about whoever's calling, we leave and they have some sort of relationship with our company, right? And especially those who are looking for help from us, it's like, let me help you, like you just, said, by helping me. So I think that's brilliant. One thing I'm interested to get your take on is, I think from just an overall operation, sense, like a lot of people with CSRs, it's like, oh, I can only book like incoming calls, right? But what is like your philosophy on like second chance leads and having CSRs make their own outbound calls, because let's just say it's a slow day, right? For whatever reason. And we have a couple CSRs with idle hands. What does that playbook look like for, outbound if we have that second chance kind of lead list?
One of the worst things that I'm accustomed to seeing inside of a call center are a group of CSRs that are reading their favorite novel.
Uh,
Calls aren't coming in and they're reading their favorite novel. That is ridiculous. And that is our fault as leaders. It's not their fault. Don't you dare come down on them. That's the culture you let occur. It's a default culture. The goal, the objective is to be at 90%. How do you do that? Training and incentives.
okay.
All right. Whenever I talk to a group, I say, hey, look, how often do you, a contractor, how often do you train your techs? And it's like a badge of honor. I train them every day. Every day.
Hell yeah.
Cool. How often do you train your CSRs? Crickets.
Yeah.
That, my friends, is the issue. That, my friends, needs to stop. I had an interview with Ken Goodrich. I was able to interview him at an event, Summit in Phoenix, a few months back. And he said nothing changed for him. He couldn't get past 5 million until he forced himself to sit inside that call center and figure out what it needed to get to a whole new level.
Yeah.
Tommy Mello has a very similar story. So what we need is we need them to be trained. You want to keep your CSRs. You want them. And you guys, that position is so transient. That is another culture issue.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a culture problem. They need training on a regular basis, just as much as often as you train your techs, you should train your CSRs. And if you don't have time to do it, hire somebody to do it for you.
Yeah.
Okay, if you know in your heart of hearts that you love your techs and know exactly what to do to motivate them on a regular basis, but you don't know what to do to motivate your CSRs, great. Hire it out. Okay, that's what Power Selling Pros does. Hire it out. I'm not trying to sell myself. I just don't know anybody better than myself. Okay, so just consider that. That's number one. Number two, you've got to have incentives. If calls aren't coming in, side note, if it's at 90% tomorrow, 80% the next day, 70% the following day, you're good, you're golden. Just book calls, wow customers. But if you're at 50% capacity tomorrow, if you're at 40% the next day and 30% the next day, you should absolutely be doing some calls. Okay, and it's as simple as happy calls. Now look, if you are incentivizing your CSRs to sell agreements on inbound calls, it'll be very easy for them to transition to outbound calls if calls aren't coming in.
Gotcha.
All right, so just consider this for a moment. On the inbound calls, at the end of every inbound call, I simply say, Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes. I noticed you don't have a membership with us. I'm wondering why not. Okay, let's say that you take 30 calls a day. And 20 out of the 30 say, I'm good. Don't worry about that. Now, as a CSR, I'm not going to push it. I'm simply going to say, okay, cool. If you change your mind, talk to your technician about it. I'm not going to push it. No big deal. But I am asking that question on every call, all 30 of them. What that means is that there are 10 out of 30 that say, well, what is it? I'm glad you asked. It's awesome. We come out in the spring, we come out in the fall. We make sure it's running at peak efficiency. The best part about it is it prevents things like this, the thing that you're dealing with right now, from happening. Now, the emotional angst that the customer feels, you guys know this, it's over the phone. They're expressing it over the phone. They're concerned about the budget. They're concerned about the surprise involved. They just want their AC back, right? They just want their plumbing back. They just want their whatever. They want it back. And they're feeling the emotional angst right there on the phone. But then the technician comes out. He fixes the problem. And now the emotional angst is gone. Why? Because we have this artificial air going on inside our home now. The emotional angst is gone. It's fixed. Okay, and then you try to sell a service agreement, a preventative maintenance agreement? No, you should do it over the phone. It's the best time to do it, okay?
Yeah.
And pay your CSRs to do it. Pay them to do it. Now, let's say that out of the 10, there's only 2 that decide to move forward today. Okay, so we pay them $15 to sell that service agreement. Now, for some it's 10, for others it's 20. There are some that give $30 out. By the way, my daughter's company, Element Heating and Air, $30 for every service agreement she sells. Back in the head going, holy crap, you're going to make bank. Very excited for her.
Heck yeah.
Very excited for her. So let's say it's $15. Okay, that's $30 a day. That's $150 a week and $7,500 a year. You guys, what would CSRs do with an extra $7,500 a year?
Yeah, I'm sure they could do a lot.
I'd say a lot of things. Disney, pay off house payments, car. Your goal is to give them independence, right? Autonomy, working inside that position. If you give them training, they'll feel important. If you give them incentives, they'll stay there longer because you've given them the ability to make as much money as they want to make right there in that seat. As soon as you do that, calls aren't coming in. Now we're teaching them to call out. And they say the same thing. Hey, Mr. Jones, we were out your home 6 months ago. How's it going? Oh, it's going so great. Everything's still really, really good. Cool. Well, funny thing is, I'm looking at your notes and you don't have a membership with us. I'm wondering why not. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
Same script. See, it prevents things like the thing that you're dealing with that you dealt with 6 months ago from happening. If you want, I can get you going on it right now. Do it on every call. It's a numbers game. And you make your money that way. Now, you guys, let's say I want to take a service call that comes in and turn it into a replacement call. Why not? Technicians do it all the time. Hey, Mr. Jones, I'm looking at your notes. I noticed that we've been working on the same system for the last 12 years. You've gotten some great life out of it. Have you ever considered replacing it? If you wanted, we can get you a proof of financing right now, right over the phone.
Yeah.
Right? And you can do that with Goodly. Done. We're rolling.
Yeah.
You guys have a partnership with them, right? Or is it with somebody else?
Not with
You guys-
GoodLeap. A lot of our clients use GoodLeap though. I think Wells Fargo is another big one they use. So.
And Wells Fargo. I'm just trying to get free plugs out. Free plugs. Free plugs for everyone.
Nice.
Okay, so go ahead.
Something that comes to mind though, Brigham, that recency bias, a client that been with us for a very long time, change of ownership, change of management, and a water treatment company. And one of the immediate changes that the management made was deprioritizing filter change calls. And they wanted to send those to voicemail. They wanted to avoid them like the plague because, well, it's a filter change. And so they stopped wowing the clients that had already installed an expensive water softener. And so it's sending light bulbs off of things that is a lot of validation for me, but also just like if you take the filters and you treat those customers, that permeates throughout the rest of the organization. And then you sound really aggressive for the ones that might be a replacement lead. And so I'm interested to hear your philosophy on all calls and how you should wow people throughout whatever that service type is.
Well, long-term mindset, right? You definitely have a long-term mindset. Number two,
Brigham, what does that mean? What's the long-term mindset mean?
Well, look, today it may be a tune-up. Tomorrow that tune-up, but sooner or later that tune-up's going to turn into a replacement.
Yeah.
They're going to replace with someone. And the way that you keep that customer is by continuing to take care of them in one shape or form, in one way or another. So whether it's an in-person visit in their home, whether it's a phone call to them, whether it's a text, that is you keeping your customer. Right? This is the reason why people use Chirp all the time. I don't know if Chirp's one of your partners or not. If I blew that up, forgive me. But dude, we've been talking about second chance leads, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing better than Chirp to create opportunities with our existing customers for us to call them back. And if you pay your CSRs to call those leads back, guess what? They'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. My daughter came home the other day. She said, hey, I sold 2 Chirp leads and I got $60. I'm like, that's awesome. That's amazing. You see, you can make as much money as you want to make. If you just give your team the incentives to hustle, make things happen. Whether calls are coming in, get them hustling. Now, why is this so important? The reason I keep going off on this leadership thing, you guys. You know, the thing I started about with Woodfin. Okay, so look, your call center, if you want it to be, can be an incubator for leadership. Okay, let me give you an example of this. And I've said this on other podcasts, and if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. We can go in a different direction if you want to.
No, this is good.
But Lindsay Wood is my operations manager. She runs everything. Okay, I've got 25 coaches, 1,250 trainees in our coaching program. We coach CSRs one-on-one twice a month using your own phone calls. We get you above 90%. We guarantee it'll be at least above 85%. Okay, she runs the whole thing. How did she start? Well, she was managing a call center. She left that call center. A few months later, she said, hey, looking for a job. You want to hire me? We made her a coach. She started out as a coach, and now she's running the organization.
Wow.
Okay, let me give you another example. Tasha. Tasha is my sales manager. When she applied for Power Sling Pros, she didn't get it the first time. She applied twice. It wasn't my idea, by the way. I would have hired her so freaking fast. Okay. Tasha, you know that. You know I would do it. Okay, so it took her twice. Luckily, she applied again. She became a coach. She was a coach for a while. Phenomenal coach. She wanted to get into sales. We got her into sales, and she crushed it. Just crushed it. And now she's running an entire sales team. I don't know if you guys see us at events, but there's no sitting behind the booth with us, okay?
Yeah.
We are out front. We are hustling, right? We make things happen, right? We know that we are the only chance a contractor has at getting the call center where it needs to be inside their office. We're it. We know they won't spend time on it. We know how important what we do is, and that's why we are pushing so hard at events. And she is out on the forefront of that, and she makes that happen. And what's crazy is that she's been able to get her team to do what she does. Incredible leader. My point here is your call center, with the right training, with the right incentives, can become an incubator for leadership in your organization. You just need to see the opportunity there. Okay, sometimes all right, I'm going to give an example here. I'm going to go in a direction I've never gone in before. Okay.
Do it. We're here.
This will make it fresh. So I was married for 18 years, 4 kids, and went through a divorce. It was hard. It was rough. This is back in 2016.
Yeah.
She, there's a lot of reasons, probably irrelevant, but it hurt and it was hard.
Yeah.
I started dating, and funny thing, I was able to utilize a tool in my dating, and that was the pattern for excellence. A really high amount of EQ, the sort of things that we've been talking about all this time. Listening and caring and reassuring. It's amazing what can happen while you're dating when you're using the right principles, right? Those enduring truths. Well, I selfishly, self-centeredly, right? I thought, hey, I'm gonna have my own bachelor TV. I'm gonna write a list of everything I want in a gal, right? Now that I'm older and I have more experience. Yeah. And I'm just gonna keep dating until, I was dating up to like 12 different people. I'm not bragging. I'm simply saying I wanted to do this. I wanted to do the Bachelor show in real life. Okay.
Sounds like your dating booking rate was at 90%.
I was very adept. Let's just say that. I was very adept. Yeah. There are some other things going on. I mean, after the divorce, the gal that left me, she said that I wasn't attractive, and I wanted to prove that was wrong. I'm attractive. What are you talking about? And so there's a lot going on there, right? And of course, it was super selfish and ridiculous, and I realized the ridiculousness of where we're going. But there is a point to my madness. The point here is that I was able to figure out the one. We were dating, and I was literally on this date. Her name's Alicia. On this date, I was thinking about my next date. What a jerk, right? That guy is such a jerk, right? Well, in that moment, something came to me, and it was almost as if it was a voice, and the voice was, Brigham, you're going to miss it. And I paused for a second there and thought, miss what? What are you talking about? What's going on? And then it was repeated in my mind, Brigham, you're going to miss it. And so next thing I know, I'm thinking about this gal in a completely different light.
Yeah.
And and so the amazing thing about this is that she was everything on that list and more. We got married in 2017, you guys. We were married for
Awesome.
8
Congrats,
years. You know, you'll have to remind me to get to my point. But let me just say this. My experience has shown me that there are two types of gals in the world. Those who are very good at telling you what you need to change, what you need to do better. Okay, that's number one. And sometimes those are needed. But there are other gals whose very presence, it compels you to be a better person.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of girl that I married, and I'm super, super grateful. So now you'll have to tell me why I even got on that tangent.
I can't remember, Brigham, but I appreciate you being so vulnerable and sharing that. That's an awesome story and just a beautiful thing. And for what it's worth, I think you're a handsome man.
No, I
and we have
appreciate
a similar hairstyle,
Yes.
so I can't. But I will say my skullet is grown out nicely. I don't know if you see this. So
it's very,
business in the
very
front,
cool.
party in the back, baby.
Yeah, I love
So,
it. I love it.
but awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's a great story and appreciate it. So, you know, one thing that we struggle with, and you've talked about this a lot, right? How important the call center is, how important that they have training, and how it's so like overlooked, right? Because they're focused on all these other areas of the business. How do you tell like a business owner? Because we record all the calls that come in as well. We have our own, you know, software that we use to do that. We have a tool that we use to help us grade those calls, because the first thing that we hear is like, the marketing's not working. The calls you're getting me are not qualified. So what do? We go listen to the calls and we say, hey, well, actually your CSR hung up on this person, or, you know, 36 of your 90 calls last week were missed. So how do you help a business owner understand that the call center is one of the most important parts of their business, and it's got to start there?
We need to set a standard across the industry that you've got to be at 90%. And not only do you have to be at 90%, you need to begin to have a culture built in there that incubates leadership. So two things. The industry standard has to be 90%. Don't tell me it can't be done. We're doing it. Okay, we're doing it for, what is it now? We've got almost 400 contractors nationwide, 1,250 trainees in our program. I have my own call center. Okay, I have my own call center of 70 plus CSRs that book an average of 93% of their phone calls. And guess what? They're overseas.
Yeah.
Okay, it can be done. They can be taught. If you're not at 90%, leader, it's on you. If they're not selling service agreements over the phone, if they're not being incentivized on a regular basis, that's on you. You need to fix that. And if you don't have time to fix it, let us fix it for you. I guess the short answer is look, if you're not at 90%, you need help. You need outside help. Hire that help.
Yeah, and before we get into the AI stuff, you know, that's also with AI coming into play with the CSR stuff. And I mean, my philosophy is AI should be an overflow, shouldn't be the first touch. Like, use it when you can't get to it, because it's an unreliable narrator and a terrible first touch currently. And we're about to show you a call and listen to it together.
I can't wait.
Play. But also, as a fiscally conservative individual, division of labor is always appealing to me, of like, okay, you're an executive assistant, also do QuickBooks, also do this, also do that. And I'm sure 3 million and under companies, that CSR is not just a CSR. They're also doing 8 other things. My hunch would be, hey, if that booking rate is not where it needs to be, and if you're not doing outbound, you should be doing nothing other than CSR. But I don't want to speak for it. I'd love to hear your philosophies on that.
Okay, I want to be super empathetic to those smaller companies. I understand that there's a lot of responsibilities that need to be had inside of a small company.
Yeah.
When you finally decide to have somebody answer your phones, as soon as their only job is inbound and outbound phone calls throughout the day, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. Okay, my daughter, by the way, she works 10 hours a day for 3 days a week.
That's a cool schedule.
Okay, so she has 2 jobs. Calls are coming in, she books them and allows the customer. If no calls are coming in, she's calling out, she's wowing the customer and selling service agreements or anything else under the sun. Okay? If you've got people who call in for heating and cooling and you also do plumbing, that CSR should be talking about plumbing at the end of that phone call. Hey, you've been using us for heating and cooling. Did you know that we also do plumbing?
Yeah.
Okay? Hustling. I don't care how big or small you are. You need to build that culture from the get-go. You need to do it. Get somebody else. Get a spouse. Get a neighbor. Get somebody else to do all the office work. Okay? Get somebody overseas to do the office work. Bookkeeping, accounting. There's so much inexpensive help out there. People who want jobs, people who need jobs, all over the world. Give them that job. This job, they do two things. Calls come in, they book, they wow. No calls come in, they call out, they wow, and they sell more services. That's it.
Yeah. I love it. You want to
Heck
go to the
yeah.
AI or you want to go to something else?
Yeah, we can. Let's play this call for you. So, Brigham, we want to talk a little bit about, AI has like been the hottest topic for the past 2 years, right? And it's impacting everybody's business, our business, your business. And we go back and forth on it because we want to make sure that when we deploy AI and use it, that we are doing it responsibly, right? We're not trying to replace jobs. We're trying to amplify them. But this is an example of how potentially AI call answering services can go very wrong.
This was sent to us from David out of Mission AC in Houston. So it's pretty funny. Let's see.
Thank you for calling. How can I help you? Hi, Sarah. My name is...
The fun part out.
I'm in a very bad mood, so I apologize in advance. I have call bills coming up. Please wait a moment while I pull up any existing customer information. I'm happy to help. Is that the computer? Yes, I am a virtual assistant and can help you book appointments, answer questions. I understand your frustration. Unfortunately,
Wait.
I apologize for any inconvenience. While I can't transfer you to a live operator directly, I can take a message and ensure that a representative contacts you at
Yeah. So that is, that's what AI can do there. What are your thoughts on that call, Brigham?
Okay. So we were talking in the beginning of this podcast about meeting the customer where they are emotionally.
Yeah.
Considering that, massive fail.
Yeah.
Massive. They start with, I'm in a bad mood. If it's a live operator that's trained and knows what they're doing, they're going to listen, they're going to care, they're going to reassure.
Yeah.
They're going to own that situation. Okay? We have our own call center. We have had 6 contractors leave because they hired AI, and they've all come back.
Yeah.
With similar issues. We were at a summit in Phoenix, and there was an AI company that demonstrated to a live audience. It was a mistake. The audio attendant hung up on him on stage. It was a disaster.
Wow.
We were at Toolbox Live last week in Miami. Same thing. AI demonstration, total fail. So look, it's just not there yet.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not there yet. Here's the interesting thing. We have never had more trainees in our program, ever. So what it's doing, it's creating incredible awareness for the need to get your call center and its culture where it needs to be. So there will be a place for AI. There is a place for AI.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody's on the phone, use AI instead of not answering it or making them wait or making it ring, right?
Yeah.
There's a place. There's absolutely a place. But you definitely need to do your best to have that balance, because guess what? This customer right here, you could say, if you're a listener, you could say, oh, we wouldn't work with that person anyway. Stop. People have bad days.
Oh yeah.
They have bad days. And
Mhm.
usually what happens is a CSR gets this call, and within 30 seconds, it's being sent over to the manager or the owner. And the manager, the owner thinks to themselves, oh yeah, this is great. I'm going to handle this, show them how amazing I am. Problem, do you want to be in your business the rest of your life?
Mm.
Why did you start your business? You started it so that you could gain freedom over your finances as well as over your time. That means that group of people who are answering the phones needs to know how to handle that one. They should not be escalating it. You should not take one escalated call. You know, I was talking to Ken Goodrich about this, and he would write on his mirror every time he went to go out and do something, like fix a job, right? Technician did something, muffed it, and he had to go out and save the day. Who's the hero there? Ken Goodrich. As long as Ken Goodrich is the hero, he's never going to get freedom over his time or ever.
Yeah.
So on his mirror, it says, who are you helping? Are you helping yourself? Because it makes you feel good when you go out and save the day. Okay, are you helping yourself or are you helping your company? So on his mirror, that's what was said. Are you helping yourself or you're helping your company? Every time. You need to ask yourself every time you jump in, whether you're helping yourself or whether you're helping your company. Don't be the hero. Get out of the limelight. Let them solve these things. So look.
Yes. Something I say a lot, Brigham, real quick. Something I say a lot, but I don't live by it. So I need help with my support from the leadership team. But acts of heroism reveal a broken system, and but I love getting in there and figuring stuff out. So but yeah, it's along the same line. That's cool.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic, because sorry, I know we've talked about leadership a lot and tangent off of AI because I think this is a topic I'm more passionate about. But like from a leadership perspective, Brigham, when you make that point about like, you know, who am I helping, right? In answering that question, like through even in your experience, I'm sure you found yourself in those moments, right?
Yeah.
What would you tell like a leader who is like facing that? Like, how do you process that moment and what does that look like?
It's very hard to say no.
Yeah.
It's very hard. Everybody wants me to come out to their shop. Everybody. And there's only one of me to go around. And I could do that in the beginning of my business. The first 5 years of your business, you got to hustle. You got to make things happen. People don't understand the amount of sacrifice, the amount of time away from home, the pay cut, all of it involved when you first start a business. But what happens over time is it's just this dopamine drip that you literally put in your arm. And every time you go in and save the day, you feel amazing. You're addicted. You're addicted. And it affects your family life and it affects your, you know, admittedly, I was accused in my first marriage of the fact that the mother of my children was a single mom to her 4 kids. And you know what? She had a point. Guys, I was never home. I was never home.
Yeah.
So for your sake and for the sake of your team, because guess what? They have ambitions. They have ambitions. They have drive.
Yeah.
They want progress in their lives. They need it. Emotionally, they need progress. And it's up to you to provide that opportunity. Get out of the limelight. Let them step in. Quell that ambition. Feed that drive. Let them have freedom to fail every once in a while. Guess what? You had freedom to fail. When you fell, did you decide, I'm going to quit?
No. Get back up.
pack it up. No, man, I'm going to go for it again. I'm going to learn from that mistake and go for it again. Now they have you as a coach to coach them through that and avoid mistakes as they occur. But when mistakes occur, sit down and say, okay, what happened? Okay, what did you learn? Awesome. Let's do that moving forward. Giving them that freedom, just like you had that freedom. That's when your business is going to grow. And you guys, that's the whole point. I promised you guys I was going to talk to you about Woodfin on day 2. I worked on a sales process the night before day 2 of this training with Woodfin. Freaking awesome company. Love those guys. But they had 14 sales coordinators, and they had to make a change. They were all booking industry average, about 40% of their sales. And they decided that they weren't going to have average sales coordinators anymore. So they got rid of 7 of them.
Wow.
Crazy thing to do. I was talking to Chip about the day he had to let go of those 7 sales coordinators. Guys, I could see it on his face. The weight that he was carrying emotionally. But he said he had to do it to motivate those who stayed to perform at an even higher level. And funny thing, they're out booking like 70% of their sales.
Wow.
So here's the crazy thing. I had a sales process all lined up, worked on it till 10 o'clock at night. So I got done with dinner on day 1 with the group there, with the leadership there. And then from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m., I was working on this really cool one sheet for sales, following the pattern for excellence. It was going to be great. It's going to be amazing. I wake up the next morning and it was like lightning on my head. It said, no, you're going to focus in on leadership, and you're going to lift them up and you're going to motivate them. I was like, what the freak? So I pulled up an old PowerPoint where it's all about leadership. Didn't even have a chance to change a thing on there. I just pulled up the PowerPoint literally that morning and went through it cold turkey. And they all walked out saying to Chip that it was a perfect message. It was exactly what they needed. They've been going through so many changes.
Yeah.
Right? They now have software that they're using Rilla, where they have the ability to be recorded, right? Their calls. It's been happening to CSRs for the last 15 years. And now that we're recording comfort advisors and text, they're crying about it. You guys, CSRs have been doing this for 15 years now. What are you talking about? And all these changes, like they just started Mantle, which is a really cool sales program that connects to Service Titan, and it's all these changes going on. The last thing I should have done was go in and say, hey, here's this new sales process.
Right.
Lame sauce. And luckily I listened to that inner voice that told me, this is what you're going to do this morning. I realized that what I had done, what I'd worked on the night before, was actually plan B.
Yeah.
It was plan B. Plan A, Brigham, this is what you're going to do this morning. 6 o'clock in the morning, I got that impression, that intuition. And I was just like, okay, I guess I'm doing this. I'm going to walk in the dark.
Yeah.
And it made all the difference. I felt amazing. They felt amazing. It was incredible.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So going back to your point about, them not wanting to have mediocre comfort advisors, right?
Yeah.
And I know before we jumped on, we talked about EOS, and one of the books that I've read that I love is like How to Be a Great Boss. And in that book, they talk about, like, imagine if everybody on your team was an A player, right? And for some people, it's like hard to imagine. And I feel like that's exactly what we want. But like, how do you have the courage to fire seven people and then have the trust and confidence that you're going to be able to replace 7 people with the A players that you needed?
How do you have the confidence? How do you have the courage? Oh my gosh. Unconventional answer, you guys. Be spiritually in tune.
Yeah.
This is why I brought up Alicia.
Okay.
She's an amazing person, but I did not see it. Sometimes we need to pray for eyes to see what is in front of us. This is why we need to make an incubator out of our call center, because it'll give us the ability to have eyes that really see what's really in there. And the same is true with our team in the field. We need to have eyes to see. Now, there's a lot of ways to do this, aside from being spiritually in tune. Okay?
Yeah.
Aside from being spiritually in tune, dream with them. Sit down with them on a quarterly basis and say, hey, where do you see yourself in this company in the next 3 years? Now, the cool thing about this is you guys, they might say, if they feel safe, they might say, I don't see myself here in 3 years. Now, some of you might be freaking out about that. I don't want to hear that. Well, you just
Or it's
gave
an
yourself
opportunity, right?
You got it. It's a 3-year notice.
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do with a 3-year notice. You can resell them, right? Got a good friend, Chad Simpson at Simpson Salute in Ohio. He hired a guy from McDonald's. He's now a comfort advisor. He's killing it. He's crushing right now. But 3 years in, he wanted to start his own business. Oh, crap. Right? The typical thing that happens in this industry. Well, he sat down with him and he explained, look, you realize you're going to have to take a step back, right? The income you're making, you're not going to be able to make that right out of the gate when you first start your own business.
Yeah.
Instead of taking that pay cut, what if we did real estate together? And he taught them all about real estate. And funny thing, they started investing in real estate together. Now they're business partners. Dream with them. Where do you see yourself? Okay, here's what I would do. As a business owner, I'd write down everything I do on a day-to-day basis. That's homework assignment number 2. Okay? Write down everything you do on a day-to-day basis. And then you take stickies and you write each of those things that you do, each of those tasks on one sticky. So one task per sticky, and you put that sticky on the wall in your office. It's supposed to be annoying. Okay? You don't want stickies on who wants stickies on their wall? Nobody does. Put it on your wall. Don't let it leave the wall until you've assigned that to somebody. And so when they come in, you sit down with them once a quarter and you say, hey, where do you see yourself in the company in the next 3 years? Well, I think I could do this. I think I could do that. And all of a sudden, you give yourself the opportunity to have eyes to see. And you say, hey, look, that thing that you want to do with your life, look at this sticky on the wall. I've been working really hard trying to figure out how to get somebody to take that on for me. Would you be willing to take that on? And painstakingly, you're taking those stickies one by one off the wall. Now, in the back of your head, you're going, well, what if I want to keep some of those stickies? Cool. Keep one. Yeah. You keep one. Now, you guys, the reason why I say one is because if I say 3, they keep 6 or 7. That's not, no. Okay. Our goal is to gain freedom over our finances and freedom over our time. 1. Okay. That means you'll probably keep 2 or 3, and that's fine. Do what fulfills you. Do what makes you happy. Don't let go of those things that make you happy, that fulfill you. But everything else, get somebody else to do. Let them gain autonomy. Let them quell their drive, their desire for progress, their desire for growth, by giving them your responsibilities, and you'll gain the freedom that you've always dreamed.
Yeah. So Brigham, you also mentioned earlier about how, everybody wants you to visit their shop, right? And I think a lot of times with Aaron and I, like, everybody wants our time and they want our help. And, I'm interested to hear from you. Like, do you ever experience any emotions because you can't physically, do that, whether they're positive emotions because you're in a place to where you have this great team under you that you trust that can do it, or, not so positive emotions like guilt, which is what I feel a lot, because the other thing, like you mentioned, that dopamine fix, because you're losing that. But then also I'm like, man, like I can't help this person, right? Because I shouldn't be, because I don't want to rob them of the opportunity. And I don't want to just, tell them how to do it, or, and so I don't know. Do you ever experience emotions around that? And how do you kind of deal with that as like a leader?
Well, it's not easy, but I promise you that you'll get as much fulfillment out of seeing your team do what you do as you going in and do it yourself. And guess what? You'll have more energy. You'll just get to sit back there. There's nothing better than I would say Tatiana is a good example. She's one of our trainers. She was at Toolbox Live last week. She crushed it. I know that because everybody reached out to me afterwards and said, "Oh my gosh, where did you find her?"
Yeah.
I hear that all the time. Where did you find her? And it's not just Tatiana, it's everybody. And
How did
the
that
truth
make
is,
you feel? How'd that make you feel like hearing that feedback? Because I know when I hear it,
same warm and fuzzies. Warm and fuzzies,
Yeah.
like, yes. And the cool
Yeah.
thing is I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I didn't have to get on a flight. It's a balancing act, right? I'm not perfect, you guys. I certainly don't want to give that impression. I have a lot to learn as a leader. I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate and blessed, truly. Great team.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that because, you know, as we are scaling our company and, you know, I was talking to Aaron this morning, I'm like, man, I don't know if I feel very equipped right now and kind of where we're at. We're at this kind of like turning point where we're, you know, we signed on 6 clients in the last like 2 weeks. And then I have somebody, you know, who's, you know, blessed enough that she's going to be able to, you know, start her motherhood soon. And she's going to decide to, you know, stay at home, which is a blessing. And we love her, but she's a rock star, you know, and we're losing her. And then we're getting 6 clients. And then our team is saying they're at capacity. And it's like, I'm like, Aaron, bro, I'm just not like confident right now. And so I'm like looking for literature and things to like help, you know, train myself to try to like understand, like we're at this inflection point and how do I get over this next kind of like mountain? Cause I'm certainly feel like I'm in a valley right now. I don't know if there was a question there, but I was just experience sharing, I guess more so, but you know, having your perspective on stuff has been awesome, Brigham. So I appreciate you sharing all this information. And I know we kind of took a different turn, but I think this has been super valuable and will be helpful for anybody out there, to be honest. So.
Well, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and you're going to be just fine. You'll figure it out, and it's amazing how people come out of the woodwork. Just keep giving it your all.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Yeah,
Well,
man. Thanks again, man. Love having you on.
Yeah, I think we went over time a little bit. I think this is going to be our longest episode, but honestly, one of the best ones, Brigham. I think, dude, what you bring in terms of like the CSR mindset and like literally you just shared like some black belt stuff that our, you know, viewers and like our clients are going to be able to use. Like I've got all these mental notes and I'm about to go share them with like the team. Because that's one thing we like to talk about is like we want to marry the marketing like with the operations because it's our goal to get your phone to ring and for you to get like form fills, but we also want to be like the best, you know, stewards of your dollars and let you know like, hey, straight up, your CSR missed 10 calls, you know, last week. Like that's a problem. These calls cost us $200 a call. You know, and so, but it's a difficult thing because, you know, and I'm sure you face it. It's like trying to get them to understand that leadership needs to occur in your call center. And like, these are the best practices you need to follow. And then trying to tell them like, hey, you have to have empathy. And, you know, like you said, it's not always being about professional. It's about connecting and understanding like what their problem is. So I think everything you've shared today is awesome. And we appreciate your time. Really appreciate you doing that webinar. We still hear great feedback from that and really helpful for our clients and stuff. So appreciate you, Brigham. You're awesome, man.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Sweet.
Thank you, man.
Well, take care. Guys, thanks for tuning in, watching the podcast. Like, subscribe. Go check out Power Selling Pros as well. You know, if you guys need any help in the call center, Brigham and his team is the guys to go to. So thanks again, Brigham. Take care.
Thank you.